Briony Scott is the principal of Wenona School in Sydney. She's been a self in her academic world, a master's and a doctorate in education from the University of Sydney. She's a committed Christian, and the list goes on. There are many things that make up Briony's life. It's lovely to welcome you to the show, Briony.
Thank you for having me.
You're currently the principal of Wenona School for girls in Sydney. Tell us a bit about what that means.
Well, actually, it's funny you should say that, because I had a Year 12 girl come up to me the other day and goes, "What is it that you actually do?" And I thought, it's not always immediately transparent, but it is a little like conducting a big orchestra. It's a big community. We have 1,100 girls and their families, extended families, and it's about how do you educate these young women, but within a sense of a community, so that they can understand their place in the world.
The very way you describe them as young women gives us an insight into the way you see those that are there. You don't talk about them as young girls that are in the making, but they're already women who are being made.
Yes, absolutely. So the idea about young people is that they grow up into, they want to please us, they want to be adults, they want to be independent, and so we want to treat them the way we would like them to be, we'd like to be treated, and we'd like them to grow up to become. So it's really important they're spoken to with respect, that you treat them as equals, because they are equals, understanding that they're young people, but we are there to show them what good relationships look like.
And also set expectations and
very clearly. So young people always, both boys and girls, young men and women, will look at adults for clues as to how to behave. So our expectations are by our actions and by our words.
So you've always wanted to be in education?
It didn't really dawn on me until I was at university. I didn't really know what I wanted to do until I got into a degree and realised I didn't want to do that one, and so kind of moved over.
What were you doing at first then?
I did agriculture, and I love agriculture, but I grew up on the water, so I knew nothing about it, and I reached third year and still didn't know what hay was, and I thought, this is really not boding well for a career path, and so I moved over into education and immediately loved it, just loved it.
You knew then at that moment, this is what I wanted to spend my life doing?
I don't know that it was a lightning bolt, but it was a growing confidence, because I didn't always get things right, and I had a lot to learn, but there was a growing confidence that I could contribute here.
So what about the people who've influenced you then in your path, your career?
Yeah, well, overwhelmingly it's my parents. So I have a mother and father who are just extraordinary in terms of them saying, you do whatever you want. They never put down expectations about where I should go or what I should do. And Dad was always a very strong, feminist. He was very much like, you go out, you do what you want to do, you don't let anyone stop you. And Mum, ironically, was the one who would be there going, okay, I'll babysit so you can finish your course. And, so there's like a practical element to it as well. But between them as a team, they were phenomenal.
And the Christian faith is important to you. How has that had any influence upon the way you've seen your role?
My faith has, but also so has my faith community. I've been enormously privileged to have grown up, and particularly as a young adult, in communities that were very positive and very constructive, very supportive, and that has informed a lot of what I do and how I treat people. They're also very good at not allowing man to make the distinctions or the limitations. I mean, we all have pretty limited imaginations when it comes to what other people can do. And they were like, you do it. If that's what you need to do, you go and do it.
What about some of the tough stuff, every role that we do in life? What would for you be some of the biggest challenges you've had?
All people. People don't go to church so much anymore. And so what we're finding is that schools are becoming the community hub for them. Now, in some respects, they always have been, but more than ever, this is their community. They don't necessarily have extended families. They travel from overseas, or whatever, but they're in a position where families are looking to the schools to provide everything. And so we do, because it's an extraordinary privilege to be in this role, but it means that when families are grieving, when things are going wrong, it's often the school, to where they turn. And that means that whenever anything goes wrong in life, as it inevitably does in a community that size,
as I draw to a close, what motivates you? Somebody says, tell me what motivates you.
In education, young people. I'm playing a long game. I love what I do. Every woman who comes across my path, I want them to grow up to know who they are, and I want them to be strong in themselves.
And you've got a strong family yourself, that's all important too.
Absolutely.
That gives you strength to do what you do.
Strong and very close family.
And how do you fit it all in a busy life?
Oh, well, imperfectly, like the rest of us. I hurdle the laundry pile and, do take away probably far too much. But I know what's important to me, and I know what comes first. And my family are the most important thing to me, or the relationships that I have with my family are most important. I'm extremely privileged to be in a community that is all about relationships. They matter to me enormously. So I want to know that the young people who are in my care are okay and that they're travelling well.
Before we finish today, Briony, if someone was over-listening our conversation and they were thinking about going into education themselves, what would you say to encourage them?
I would encourage them, if they really love children and they love investing in the future, that education is the one place that you can actually make a difference in someone's life over a longer period of time. You form relationships with young people and actually foster and look after them and develop them as they grow. It's a magnificent profession.
And not expect everything just to happen immediately like that.
It's a long game. We're playing a long game here, and you may not hear about something for decades, about how words that you said affected someone 20, 30 years down the track. It can't be about you. It has to be about what you're doing and how you're helping that young person.
And I found that many people who are looking back on their lives can still remember the teacher that made the difference.
They can remember how a teacher made them feel. Even if they can't remember the words, that beautiful Maya Angelou quote, they absolutely can remember how someone made them feel.